Capcom. They are trying to do something a bit more
Unlike
their
Japan-
usual
yeah.
Japanese blabber with.
Dragon's Dogma.
Ours is a weak, fragile world, and little within it is more frail than man.
They announced it and sort of try to sell it as a Japanese take on Western RPGs.
Yeah.
Unlike, so it's a lot less Final Fantasy and a lot more Skyrim, maybe. You know,
And
it's
you have
not
played
Skyrim,
it,
but
of
I've
course.
played it, yeah.
Does it work?
It works. It still has some, Japanese stuff, for lack of a better word, in it, but it very much follows the standard formula, or the basic Western formula for Western RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons and like European fantasy. Pretty
So you
much.
go down in the cellar, kill some rats, and then you kill boars, or?
Well, not so much rats, but go down in a cellar and get your ass kicked by lizard men, and then come back when you're 10
Okay.
levels higher and can actually defeat them. Go into like deep, dark, dank dungeons and find this mysterious evil force that will make you run away because otherwise it kills you. And highway robbers and big open world to explore and castles and
And no
side
girls
quests
with
and
pink spiky
no
hair
girls
and
with
stuff
big
like
spiky
that.
hair and no nothing about character being a dream of a dead civilization or anything like that. No.
Spoiler!
It sticks to the formula and actually sticks to it pretty well.
Okay.
It avoids most of those weird Japanese idiosyncrasies that we've come to fear from Japanese developers, and that's really fresh.
Pray, let this token from humble Festi garner favor with the Leviathans within. Oh, tut, no time for thanks, friend. The Duke awaits. Sail on, dear knight, sail on.
It does some very cool things, actually. You have these followers called pawns, and you can now have up to 3 of those. So basically, the entire game is played as a party.
Okay.
And you get.
That sounds Japanese again, but
Yeah, but you get to pick those yourself, and you pick their own class, and you can customize the gear. You can customize pretty much everything about them and make tailor it to how your playstyle goes, and they actually work out pretty well in combat.
You can also choose if they're defensive or offensive and stuff like that, or their play style. Can you define that, or
you can give them orders like help and come here and follow me or attack.
Okay.
But actually they do a pretty good job on their own. It's not like you ever feel like, oh, I have to protect my pawns or compensate for anything they do. No, you see the enemy and they attack recklessly and then you kill them.
Okay.
So that part works pretty well, actually. And the combat is often very spectacular. If you're facing like a big boss like a Minotaur or a troll or something, you can actually jump on its back and crawl up and stab him in the head where his weak spot is. And when that works, it's really, really fun.
Sounds a bit like God of War, something like that.
It's a little bit like, it's very action-oriented. Also, I was reminded of Shadow of the Colossus when you're climbing around those guys.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, the game definitely has its bright sides. It also, unfortunately, has some not-so-bright sides.
Okay.
Story is pretty bland, which is to say there almost isn't any. Game starts out with you're this guy in a fishing village, everything's peaceful and quiet, and then the dragon shows up out of nowhere, and dragons are pretty rare in this game. And then starts, tearing everything apart, and as the sole only guy, you grab a sword and try fighting the dragon. You lose, obviously, so the dragon knocks you out, takes your heart and eats it, but you don't die. So you
That
become
sounds Japanese.
Yeah, that's
okay.
so you become this. Apparently, in the universe, that's something that happens every now and then. So you become this guy called the Arisen.
I am impressed.
Oh, be damned! This your handiwork? For truth? Oh, what did the lack of an idol doing here anyway?
Ancient tales of the Arisen are well and good, friend. But make a gift of these heads to the Duke, and you might earn yourself a real title.
The story sort of hints at that there's more to the relationship between you and the dragon than people might realize at first. But it doesn't actually really push the story very much.
Okay.
It's just, go here, kill some dudes, kill some more dudes. Then there's a little talking. There's no real dialogue and stuff like that.
Okay.
Then go kill some dudes and maybe find a bazillion side quests of people who want you to kill dudes or monsters or whatever. There's a lot of monster killing in this game. The save system is Japanese.
Okay.
You have one save slot. Yeah, I have no idea what they were thinking on that point. So
That's insane.
yeah, and it doesn't quick save very often, so you have to continuously save on your own because otherwise you'll end up retreading a lot of areas.
That
randomly.
actually sounds like Capcom. And
Yeah,
It's-
I mean, in that regard, the game is really, really Japanese, and it sort of goes against pretty much what you'd expect from a Western RPG.
Yeah.
Because they're all about choices and going different paths and all that. And in that regard, I don't know what they were thinking.
Okay, that's a shame.
And sometimes combat is awesome, other times it's not. There's a lot of random encounters when you're out on the road. You'll run into brigands and highway robbers, and sometimes you defeat them without breaking a sweat. Other times you get your ass thoroughly kicked. And
It's not very consistent, or
no, it doesn't feel very consistent. And some of the monsters, the big monsters, they're supposed to all have weak spots. Sometimes you just can't figure it out. I ran into this giant troll type thing in a system of underground caves, and after spending I think half an hour trying to beat him, I ended up just figuring out a way to lock him inside a small corridor and then going around him. And I actually think having the option of doing that is cool, but I would have preferred to stabbed him to death or something. So overall, gets a lot of things right. I definitely think it will find its audience, but it's not a game I would recommend to everybody.
Okay.
I sort of gave up on it because
So
I got
it's
frustrated.
wait for a sale and
Probably, yeah. Or borrow it from somebody, see if you like it. See if it's your kind of thing.
yeah.
It's an evil eye!
Well met, young Arisen.
If you would face me, seek me out.
The will of a dragon, or the heart of a human. For one to prevail, the other must be broken.